Alright, yeah, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and back to a very special video. Today is Historic Brawl Day, but not a stream highlight like it usually is. We actually have access to the Historic Brawl Festival now, which means until, oh god, when is it? The end of the month? Something like that. We have access to 100-card Historic Brawl in a queue that gets you 3,000 experience. But it's basically here as a placeholder for the Historic Brawl permanent queue, or semi-permanent queue if you take Wizards' strange threats seriously. Basically, you gotta play Historic Brawl or they'll take it away. That's what they told us. So, yeah, it is a thing. Anyway, today, a little Stratford time, so we're actually going to be playing a deck that we've played a Standard Brawl version of, because it was really good then, and I wanted to see if it's really good in Historic Brawl, and yeah, it certainly is. It's tilt-inducing. It's your boy. It's the Beholder himself, Xanathar Guild Kingpin. 6 mana, 5/6. At the beginning of your upkeep, you choose a target opponent. Until the end of the turn, that player can't cast spells, and you may look at the top card of their library at any time. You may play the top card from their library, and you may spend mana as though it was mana of any colour to cast spells this way. This card is Lantern Control written on a 6-drop. If any of you don't really realise what Lantern Control is, because you haven't watched the modern content, it's basically a control variant in non-rotating formats that involves manipulating the top card of your opponent's library in such a way where they basically don't get to play the game. So Xanathar helps us do that. Since we can play anything off the top of their library, what we can do is we can play all the good cards and let them draw a bad card, because we'll know what the card is that they're going to draw, which is really super useful. So if we play all their good cards and there's a land on top, we just leave it there, and they draw a land. So they draw a land, and their current hand isn't that good, so they pass the turn. And then we play all the good cards off the top of their library until we hit a land, and then they draw a land. And it's rinse and repeat. Your opponent basically gets completely locked out of the game with Xanathar. There's obviously a chance that your opponents can have some very expensive stuff on top that you can't cast, but that's where the rest of the deck comes in to support that contingency. So we're going to be playing Dimir Control. It's kind of a draw-go control style, but in the Dimir theme of either countering things, bouncing things, or removing things. So I'm not going to go into so much detail about this particular deck, because it's 100 cards, so I think I'm going to try and just talk about the important stuff, some of the win cons, for example. As I mentioned, this is kind of draw-go control, so it's all about drawing for your turn, and then passing the turn, and that's essentially it. We have some ways of pushing Xanathar out nice and early, because in my experience, when Xanathar resolves, if he survives the turn and you get to untap and get that upkeep trigger, your opponent concedes. This card is, by all metrics, very underrated by Wizards standards. So they have kind of a weighting system when it comes to commanders. So the really broken stuff only goes up against the really broken stuff. It's very apparent to me that Wizards haven't weighted Xanathar very high, because you go up against decks that have absolutely no right going up against it. It's kind of a little bit of a ruffle stomp most of the time, and yeah, not many people want to see it played out, but this deck does have its finest and most fun games when your opponents have a little shred of hope that they might win, because then you get to Lantern Control your opponent. So it's a very one-sided fun kind of deck. But yes, why is it very one-sided? Well, everything they play either gets countered with negates, counter spells, or excludes, Supreme Wills, for example, or it gets destroyed with Power Word Kill from the new set. We've even got Sign in Blood in here that I'm going to test out a little bit, because it seems like a nice cheap draw spell, and hopefully the 2 life's not going to matter too much there. This is a 100-card deck, so we're not going to see Drown in the Lock too much, but when we do see it, it should be relevant. We've got some board wipes as well, in the form of Crux of Fate, destroying all dragons or non-dragons. We also have Ritual of Soot and Extinction Event, and also, I think another one? Maybe? I don't remember. Oh yeah, Blood on the Snow. Blood on the Snow destroys all creatures or planeswalkers, and then reanimates a creature or planeswalker from your graveyard, where X is the amount of snow to cast a spell. It's the only snow card in our deck. It was actually kind of a last-minute inclusion, so maybe you actually want something like Gravenlaw in here, since you can make good use of it. Maybe I'll make that change now, actually. This is why I won't be doing it on the fly, but I don't like doing it on the fly, should I say. What would I put in for Graven Law? You see, we do have the commit to memory combo with Narset Parter avails, and I did manage to pull it off during one of my games, so like commit would have initially been one of my picks, but I can't bring myself to do it. I'll figure out what the Graven Law cut is anyway, and if you check out in the description below, there'll be a deck list link, and it will have the updated link anyway. Maybe it's actually like Chemisters. Yeah, maybe it's Chemisters. Alright, Graven Law's coming in. Look at that. Hopefully that's not too bad for us, though. Because it is 1 mana extra, but it's also an absurd card advantage card as well. 5 mana Scry X, where X is the amount of snow spent to cast it, and then you draw 3 cards. So you do this on your opponent's end step, basically, which is what we want to be doing. Because we have lots of instant speed removal, Obnixilus's Cruelties, Baleful Masteries, Eat to Extinction. So most of the time we don't have a good reason to tap out on our opponent's turn. So let's talk about win cons. In addition to Xanathar, which we can cheat out with Dark Ritual, because that's not banned in Historic Brawl. So you can get that out 2 turns early, or have it down on time with Counterspell backup, because you've spent some of your generic mana to use on this Dark Ritual. So you can get him down with Counterspell backup, which is usually enough to get your opponent to concede. Or we have lots of mana rocks in the 2-drop slot. We've got some Mind Stones, Relics, Lanterns, things like that. Even a Midnight Clock to get us back to 7 cards if we hit 12 counters on this, which is at the beginning of each upkeep we get one of those. So it doesn't take too long for us to get to 7 cards, and in the 3 games that I've played with this deck, I've managed to pull that off once as well. It's not an uncommon occurrence, to be fair, in Midnight Clock decks, but, you know, it's worth noting. We have some interesting removal in here, though. We've got, like, Doomblade. So this one's going to be kind of dead in black creature matchups, of course. But other than that, I think it's going to be some really useful removal. Trying to keep our curve nice and low so we can do multiple things, like kill a creature and counter or something like that, on the off chance that we need to do that. We've even got Walk the Plank in here, because other than Shapeshifters, I highly doubt there's any merfolk that we have to care about. So this just seems like one of the only sorcery speed removals in our deck, for sure. But it just seems like premium removal. We can just hit the biggest things with this for 2 mana. And that's the kind of trade-off that you really want. You want to hit your opponent's 7-drop bombs with a 2 mana removal spell, for example. Because this deck's all about making your opponent feel bad. So the more value you can get out of making them feel bad, the better. Win cons. Let's talk about it. So, Xanathar. We also have Torrential Gearhulk as well. A somewhat win con-like card. Gets an instant or, well, just an instant from your graveyard and allows you to play it for free. That's super useful with Sublime Epiphany, which makes a copy of Torrential Gearhulk, which then triggers the ETB again. We got Liliana Dreadhorde General, which draws cards whenever creatures die, and then it pumps out 2-drops. 2/2s, should I say. Has a removal option on the -4 there as well, so it's kind of like a mini board wipe in the sense, which is why it's in the list. Ashiok Nightmare Muse pumps out 2/3s that exile cards, and if we get to that -7, which isn't too hard, we only have to pump up twice to get there, we can cast up to 3 spells from among face-up cards your opponents own in exile without paying their mana costs. So a couple of things to note. We don't actually have to exile off the 2/3s that it creates that do all the exiling. We can also use the cards that we have exiled with Extinction Event, Eat to Extinction, Baleful Mastery, for example, and also Hive of the Eye Tyrant in our land base. Speaking of our land base, we are on 36 lands, so 2 more than the default for Magic Arena's suggested land count, but we also have, in addition to that, Hagra Maulings and Solundi Visions and things like that, so we have even more lands than 36, and we have mana docks, because it's really important that we can afford to play everything off the top of our opponent's library, so we can generate a lot of mana, and these land and spell cards are essentially free to add in your deck. They're either going to be a land if you need them to be, or later down the line if you are flooding. You don't need to play them as a land. You can have it as a creature removal spell, or a card advantage engine, or a kind of mini instant sorcery-based shooter, I guess you could call it, or a collected company, or a counterspell. So lots of utility here, and yeah, hopefully everything goes well. I've played this deck 3 times in testing just to make sure that the levels of ramp, counter, and removal and card draw are all up to snuff, and it seems to be the case. I'm 3-0 with this deck, and yeah, there's been a couple of people who want to play out the games, and that's about it. Everyone else kind of, once Xanathar resolves, 9 times out of 10 what you're going to see is your opponent's just conceding. Other than that, though, if they play it out, it's a lot of fun for you, and not so much for them. Which, you know, is kind of like a control player's dream, I guess. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you do, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. I'd love to hear down in the comment section below what you guys are playing in the new Historic Brawl event as well. Maybe if you suggest something cool, I might build it or use your list. We'll see. Who knows? But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy, and take care. This video is brought to you by the generous support of our wonderful patrons and channel members that you see here. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to cool content like sneak peeks, bonus videos, polls on future content, or access to a personal deck critique from myself every month, then hit the join button down below, or check out the Patreon link in the description. With all that said, let's get into the gameplay. Alrighty, opponent goes first. We have... I would say this is an acceptable hand. This deals with our opponent's commander. Deals with it in the future. Has awkward but reasonable enough mana, I guess. Reasonable enough that I wouldn't want to risk getting a worse hand anyway. But yeah, we're going to take the few first turns anyway to accelerate. Honestly, drawing an island's really good here. So our opponent's playing Volo Guide to Monsters, and we'll get to what Volo does in just a second. We have our double blue now, so we're going to use the Cold Steel Heart to get our double black. And this allows me to next turn go Demir Locket, Eliminate. If they offer that up. They're going to go with Roiling Regrowth. So, expensive and bad crop rotation. They've got their island out of it. They might not have otherwise had that. They have fueled my Drowning the Lock, which is kind of funny. So here I could hold up and counter magic. My counter magic is good against Volo. My other cards, not so much. They would force me to tap out. I think I would probably hold up in the counter magic here. The reason being is if they got a land 1-drop, they get guaranteed Volo value. We don't really want that. And I can fight anything they play here with any of my cards, really. Like that. That's a perfectly fine card to deal with. That maybe they've got backup counter spells, but this is more like a Simic ramp style to me, I think. I'll get into what our opponent's commander does in just a second, once we've drawn and seen what we've got available to us. So here, we're going to go Demir Locket. That allows me to have You Find a Villainous Lair. A wonderful, lovely word soup kind of card there. And that can hold up for Volo. So I'm going to pass the turn. So, Volo Guide to Monsters, a 4-mana 3/2 that says whenever you cast a creature spell that doesn't share a creature type with a creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, copy that spell. So, doubles up all creature types, but the deck building restriction is that you can't have 2 of the same type. So, they can't really run human wizards because it just doesn't work. This is an interesting spot, because while I can play Xanathar, they could play like a Kogla. What are the odds that they can play a card that kills Xanathar? If they had the Hydra, the one that can go X4 and double its counters off fight, it's not enough. I think I take my chances. I can kill anything they follow up with here, including a Kogla. Volo just comes down and does nothing, and now I get to I get to play around with their deck a little bit. I know that they're going to draw an island, and I'm totally fine with that. So, what I will do is, I think, Power Word Kill, Angel, Devil, and Dragon. None of those things are likely to be in their deck. So maybe I actually just go with Omnix's Cruelty. It's hard to say, actually. Then we'll go with Power Word Kill. Indestructible creatures are definitely annoying, and this helps us get around that. So Volo goes in the command zone. My suspicion is that's their best and really only play. We play Evolving Wilds, we pass the turn. They draw an island. We could play their land. It's certainly an option. But what it would lead to, and we're going to kill Volo again. Oop, goodbye. What it would lead to is the potential that we can't play enough of their follow-up cards to leave them without... Oh, let them draw good cards, basically. I'd rather them draw an abysmal land than anything good for the risk of making a land drop. If I had a good card in my hand that needed that mana, I would probably consider playing it, but yeah, the card that's under the island is more scary to me than them drawing an island, is the point I'm trying to get to. And yeah, this is the kind of game state that Xanathar brings out in most games, is you attack their hand until they run out of resources, you play your Xanathar, and you hopefully protect it from any removal or counter magic, and once you've done that, you can then punish their resources, because you have to assume if Xanathar's around, this hand doesn't deal with it, so all you have to do is make sure that the top of their deck doesn't deal with it either, and you win the game. And it's a slow and painful process, because I don't believe your opponent gets to see what you've left on top, so they don't know whether or not you've screwed up, which is, I guess, the worst part about getting Lantern controlled without being able to see the top of your own library. But yeah, pretty good, and textbook game there. On to the next one. Alrighty, we're in, and... this looks bad. It looks kind of bad. It's got a little bit of ramp, but this negate's probably not going to do much. And these are a little bit expensive, so let's take the free mull on that. Okay. Nope, double black for Murderous Rider, but we have Disallow, and we have kind of a win con we can work our way up to. Again, it's not great, but... yeah, it'll work. Plains and go. Alright, let's go with the Vantress so we can have the Swamp for cast down. Our opponent's on Snapdax, Apex of the Hunt, a Mardu 4-drop, 3/5 with double strike. It's 2 and hybrid black-red, double white. Whenever this creature mutates, it deals damage to the target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls, and you gain 4 life. Alright. So, yeah, not really too applicable, except for if I drop down... yeah, that's the thing. If I drop down Planeswalkers, then I guess it's relevant. I'm just going to hit the creatures here. It's probably worth my time to do that. They can mutate onto it, right? Oh, it's costing 5, 3, 4... yeah, I mean... this could be where they play Snapdax. I could just Murderous Ride it next turn, though. Let's just do that. It's got Summoning Sickness either way at that point, and has no target to hit. So they can get it down, I'll kill it. I'll hope to draw something nice and tasty. Yeah. They don't like that idea. Works for me, though. Alright. Hit me for 4 one time, I guess. Might even kill it with Murderous Rider. It's less damage. But then I wouldn't be able to hold up and Disallow. I'll just take 4. See what they want to do with their follow-up. If it's nothing, honestly, I might just accept the 6. Exile a red? No. There's what I won't even continue reading that. That ain't happening. Do not question me. Right, land please. Yep, there you go. Sublime Epiphany, that's lovely. Alright, that deals with the token, whatever they play, and I get to draw. Alright, they scry. I'd love for them to just pass, honestly. Yep, that's great. Every time they do that, I win. I win the war. It's never really a good idea to let the control player just not be pressured. And this 2/2 is not pressuring me. Hanged Executioner. Alright, that's worth it for me. Let's just go for it. So, counter that, bounce the token, draw a card. Solid trade, I'd say. And do whatever they want with the remaining mana. Alright. So, now we're on what? We could do Imarith plus Murderous Rider. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. There's no way they can play a creature and mutate and kill Imarith anyway, because they can only deal 4 max. Alright. And we're just gonna win, I guess? Looks that way. Ooh, they've got an upkeep stop on me. Eat to extinction. Unless they pay 4. Not how it works, Chief. They could have waited until I went to combat. Then it would have been acceptable, because I was certainly going to get in for combat there. Because I could just follow up with Xanathar anyway and not really mind. But, yep. Not how that works, unfortunately. Reading the card does sometimes explain the card. But on to the next one. Alrighty then, Nicholas Bolus is on our opponent's side. This hand is good. I'll say that. Yeah, we're going to keep it. We got Counterspell if we feel like we need it, and we've got Ramp otherwise, and removal for Nicholas Bolus. It all seems pretty good to me. Let's lead off with... Well, it's going to have to be Evolving Wilds get an island, I guess, here. Maybe not, I don't know. Because this Vantress needs an island, and this Command Tower certainly ain't it. But we do have the Arcane Signet, which is any colour of mana, so... I think between the Command Tower and the Signet, we should be okay for black mana, I guess. So let's go get an island. Have that kind of guaranteed to be set up later. Well, Chromatic Land's pretty good as well. Yeah, short of Hand Disruption, I'm not really countering, and if I'm countering Hand Disruption, it's getting the same job done, really. There's nothing here in particular our opponent will really take that matters. Maze Mind Tome for them. Doomblade is probably the most dead card I've ever seen in a matchup. Let's play our Mana Rock, because they do have Bedevils, I guess. They could starve of us mana. But I guess they could do that with Lantern, but either way, this is my line, and I'm sticking to it. Maze Mind Tome. To the top. So, Nicholas Bolus, the Ravager. Grixis, 4-drop, 4 mana, 4/4 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card, and then for 7 mana with Grixis, totally letting that resolve, you can exile him and return him to the battlefield transformed under his owner's control. Activate owner only as a sorcery, and then there's all the Planeswalker shenanigans right there for you. Oh, that was me. Ignore that if you heard that. I don't know if you did. Right, they tapped out. They tapped out, but I can't really do anything with that. So I think I will have to just go for a Castle Vantress. This deck is obviously Grixis control. It's all about removing creatures. And, yeah, there's no way... Oh, that might be me again. Don't know if that was, audible. Old Facebook. Oh, please stop. Please stop pinging me. I don't know who you are, but I will find you. Ooh. I want a land drop, and I don't really want to use my Seagate restoration, but these cards are too good to not take, I guess. So, yeah, whatever. Maybe I go with the intervention, because I can use it to find my land drop. It's hard to say. We're going to go tapped and pass. Be drawing with the Maze Mine Tome, so they're doing something productive with their turns when we do nothing, which is less than ideal. What we want is a Xanathar turn with Lapse or Counterspell open. Either one of those is totally fine. Again, it might be another reason why we go for the Thassa's Intervention, because it's harder to protect Xanathar with the Thassa's. Let's scry regardless. Ooh, hello. Let's see if we can find something else. We got 2 counter spells. I'm probably going to have to use one here anyway, but Narset's super huge. Almost certainly eats counters if they've got them. I'm gonna really tilt you and make you draw that again. They can scry it away with the Maze Mine Tome, but it's use out of the Tome that's also very, very much fine with me. Alright, now give me more counter magic. Bloodchief's Thirst, not ideal, but I'll take it. So yeah, we're stopping them from drawing cards. We've made them guarantee a bottom on that scry there. Keep them from finding future answers, perhaps. Nice, an Imarith. We are going to counterspell that because it has Ward. Could hold up and Doomblade, but yeah. I kind of figured that might be the outcome. We win the counter war. And yeah, we go on to the next one. Surprised, honestly, that Grixis doesn't have the patience to play this one out. You know, it's usually control players that refuse to scoop, but yeah. Oh well, on to the next one. Alrighty then, we're in, and this could be a bit sketchy against what is essentially mono-red aggro. The mana base is kind of nice. I don't know. On the play, though, Memory Lapse isn't the worst. Just stick Karizev on top of their library and then bounce it later. Yeah, maybe. I feel confident enough that we would draw into removal down the line, and I think I can sufficiently tempo with this hand. So we've got the Ice Tunnel down, which means I can now go Drowned Catacomb. I'll pass the turn. We've got a land to play next turn, so it's not too much of a concern to Temple here. So they either put it on top or they pay the command attacks for it, which is nice. Let's stick it on top, so they're skipping a draw step, which is lovely. So I'm going to go Temple of Deceit. Basically, now we're looking for removal, because we've got plenty of counter magic. And here, I guess I'm just going to ramp, because I can't Disdainful Stroke or Karizev. So I would like to find removal for it. Let's put it on blue, considering this hand. So Karizev to hand, land drop for the turn. Gonna go for Crusher instead. Fair enough. Eliminate, not bad. Eliminate means what for me? To be honest, maybe I take the damage just to Hedron Archive. I don't know if that's right, though. Yeah, if it had drawn a land, the Hedron Archive looks a lot better. I guess I'm going to pass. There's Embereth. And I'm going to eliminate the Crasher and Brazen Borrow the Karizev on end step, I think, something like that. Oh, the Battle Driver now gives me Disdainful Stroke, so that's really kind of them. Land drop, please. Graven Law. Right, we're officially at Let's Play Hedron Archive territory, I think. This lets me Xanathar and 6 toughness booty against mono red. I think I'm not going to care too much what Carry Zev thinks at that point. In fact, I'm sure the top of their library has more than enough removal spells for their own commander. Whirly boy. We got the land. So we do ask ourselves, do I actually play Xanathar with the potential that 2 of the 3 cards are enough to kill Xanathar, or 2 of the 4 cards, I guess. We haven't given a reason to use creature removal. They don't seem like the deck that would use removal that is dedicated to creatures. And my other alternative is Brazen Borrow a thing and Supreme Will. That just doesn't seem great to me either. So I think I'm going to go Xanathar. I am not going to block a single thing from them here, because then that opens up normal removal. And now I think I just play, like, reasonable creatures off the top of their library here, most likely. So this is 3, 5, 7, 8. Take it. Tap out with Embereth, probably. So it'd be 12. Not ideal, of course, but... As I said, I've got my top deck, which is nice, and then I've got all of theirs, which is either going to have creatures of a similar looking value, or it's going to have removal. Or land drops for me to make. I guess that's also fine. Yeah, so there's the Embereth. If I have to block next turn, so be it, but I think I'll give myself the best chance to not need to do that. So let's have a look. Phoenix of Ash. Do you even block? You do block. You also go into their graveyard, though. But I think that's just something I'm going to have to deal with. Play the artifacts, I guess. Play your mountain. Oh, I've already played my land? Yeah, okay, fair enough. So that's counter plus bounce plus block. Seems good. They draw a land. Here comes Faceless Haven that I will be blocking. Bounce, Carry Zev. I can hit it on the way back down, maybe. And then let's do some blocking. So, let's see. Best way to do this. I think it's block, block. Kenra only becomes a 4/4, and I can still block that. Yeah, I think maybe this is the line. I don't know. Ember Cleave. Ember, nope. We're at 6. We're not out of the woods, but we do get a nice looky at what they've got over on that other side. Chandra Fire Artisan's not exactly what I had in mind, but I definitely don't want them playing it. So let's take that. Infuriate. Exile the top of my library, see if we can find some removal. It's a Midnight Clock. Right, so I could play a Midnight Clock, I still get to hold up and negate. They get Infuriate, which allows them to try and kill Xanathar with Chain Whirler. I then negate that. And I take 4 or 5, most likely. Or do I just take the Infuriate now? Potentially get a blocker. Still have negate open. I think that's maybe what I want to do. It's hard to say. This allows me to go Midnight Clock negate, and there's another land underneath, which is nice. So now they're drawing a land. I might not even need this negate, honestly, because if I know what the top card of their library is, then it's never really going to be a concern. It's just this final card I really have to worry about, I think. Although, Phoenix of Ash, I'm going to need an answer to. I have Brazen Borrow to block it, I guess. So this puts me to 3. Negate covers any burn spell that I'm not thinking of and any combat trick. It just doesn't stop me from dying to Phoenix of Ash, unfortunately. Goblin Arsonist, there's Heartless Act. Well, that's annoying that it's got a counter. I'll say that. Let's see what Chandra's got to offer us. It's no problem. Fire can't solve. We Gravenlaw here, and thankfully they've put Snow-Covered Mountains in their deck, so that's really useful. I'm gonna have to play the Arsonist most likely as well, which is annoying. Well, there's Drown in the lock. It's a 3-drop, so I can use Drown. Let's put all the lands to the bottom. Let's put the Search to the bottom. Saw it coming to the bottom, I guess. I don't know if I'm going to be able to win, honestly. Tyrant Scorn goes quite a fair way to help me there. So I can do Drown plus Scorn. I'm going to have to play the Arsonist. Frostbite. That's really huge. Yeah, I guess I hit the Phoenix then. They draw a land. And I should be okay. So they draw their land. I have a blocker for the Chain Whirler. I can answer this. Yeah. We're going to return it to their hand. Boop. It's dead now. Carry Zev can die to Heartless Act. Wow. I really do hope that they are serving this message to our opponent, because I can imagine it's the exact opposite of what I'm going to click on. That was great. Oh my goodness. Oh, I think we piloted that about as well as we could. Maybe I made some little errors along the way, but yeah, that's usually how it goes. You try to play the top of your opponent's library until they hit garbage, and then you use all of their stuff to win the game in a lot of times as well. So yeah, really awesome stuff, and hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this in the future. Without further ado, gonna end it off here. Take care, and good night.